Present Sri Padmanabh Garu, and a special namaskarams to his daughter Shailja Garu and all others, and best wishes to each one of you who are the aspirants for IAS and other competitive exams. I hope and understand that the exams are postponed to you, but your learning should not be only for the purpose of any competitive exam, but it should be for learning for entire life. For that matter, your learning and wisdom cannot be stolen by anybody. So if you acquire the skill of getting and acquiring knowledge in various fields, that will really make you to live happily and enjoy the life in a beautiful way. With this, I would like to directly deal with the today's topic in respect of the Constitution. 1 minute. Hello? Giri. So, in order to acquire the knowledge, we have to have determination to work hard and interact with one and all and share knowledge so as to understand and live a beautiful and good life. Let us go to the topic today about some of the important aspects of our independent India and Constitution. We are aware about basic structure of the Constitution, the doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution. It applies only to constitutional amendments, which states that the Parliament cannot destroy or alter the basic features of the Indian constitutions. We are aware that these features are not fully defined, but they include supremacy of the Constitution, republican and democratic form of government, and secular character of Constitution, separation of power, federal character of Constitution. We know that the Constitution empowers the Parliament and the state legislatures to make laws within their respective jurisdiction. Bills to amend the Constitution can only be introduced in the Parliament, but this power is not absolute. If the Supreme Court finds any law made by the Parliament inconsistent with the Constitution, then it has power to declare that law to be invalid. Thus, to preserve the ideals and philosophy of the original Constitution, the Supreme Court has laid down the basic structure doctrine. According to this doctrine, the Parliament cannot destroy or alter the basic structure of the doctrine. So, we need to know several important doctrines which are evolved from time to time. In order to understand these doctrines or the Constitution, we need to know how our Constitution, which is not static, but it is moving, has been working, how it is able to achieve the goals of the goals. What are the goals? And how it has been achieving. All these things we have been discussing from several days on different days. Today, we will try to understand how the judiciary is functioning and what are the important powers the judiciary is having, how concept of the welfare state is being achieved. So in order to understand the same, we need to have the knowledge of various functionaries, particularly which are working since from the date of inception of the Constitution and making us to have a beautiful and real life. For that, we have to understand how the Indian judiciary is working. We know that Indian administration is guided by 3 pillars. Actually, 4 pillars. One pillar we will discuss later. But what are these 3 pillars which are guiding the Indian administration are legislature, executives, and judiciary. The 4th one is, we can say, press. Press is taking an active role, rather a role of opposition in order to make fair criticism of knowing, understanding the working of the legislature, executive, and judiciary and making the life as is livable. With this, let us see what is Indian judiciary. In India, we can proudly claim, in view of various articles of the Constitution, especially embodied in the Constitution under different articles, that our country is having independent judiciary. The other organs of the government, such as legislative, executive, or any other organ for that matter, cannot interfere with the functioning of the judiciary. It is an important topic for the IAS exam for understanding the Indian polity subject. I will provide you with relevant facts about Indian judiciary, what is the role of judiciary, its structure, organization, and functioning. Let us see what are the important articles that are there in our Constitution which deal with the judiciary and its powers and the other important aspects. We know under various chapters in our Constitution, several important powers are given to different organs. Chapter 4, it deals with the Union judiciary. Article 124, it says, there shall be a Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court of India consisting of a Chief Justice of India, and until Parliament by law prescribes a large number of not more than 7 other judges. So this is a very important article. So as per the Constitution, we shall have only one Supreme Court, and initially the judges, including Chief Justice, only 7, consisting of Chief Justice of India and other judges who are not more than 7, until Parliament by law prescribes a large number. So now we are having, with the Amendment Act of 2008, 30 judges. From time to time, the number of judges are increased. Now we are having 30 judges. So at the beginning of the Constitution, we have only 7 judges. Article 124 says that only 7 judges and Chief Justice at the initial stage, Supreme Court has to be formed. So who has to appoint this, the judges? It is the president by warrant under his hand and seal appoint the Supreme Court judges as per Article 124, Clause 2. They hold the office until they attain the age of 65 years. So how they are appointed? They are appointed by issuing a warrant, and there is a provision about how to remove them in case of certain important aspects. The ground for removal is if they are having, if it is proved that they have misbehavior or they are incompetent, or rather they attained incapacity. So there is a long procedure of how to remove a Supreme Court judge under Article 124, Clause 4, 5, 6 to 7. And there are certain prohibitions also. A judge of the Supreme Court is not entitled, if he held the office as a judge of the Supreme Court, to work as an advocate, that is to plead or act in any court or before any authority within the territory of India. This is important. Within the territory of India. Can they go and act as judges in international court? Definitely yes. Can they go and act as judges in other countries? Definitely say yes. So Article 124, Clause 7 clearly says that a judge of the Supreme Court is not entitled to plead or act in any court or before any authority which is established within the territory of India. So this is most important. Then we have National Judicial Appointments Commission. In respect of this, after the full bench judgment with a minority judgment of one judge, this commission is not established, in the sense it is struck down. Old law only is followed. We have protection to the judges in respect of their salaries, privileges and allowances, which are mentioned in Article 125. And then we have also provision for acting Chief Justice, for appointment of an acting Chief Justice. Acting Chief Justice is appointed when as per Article 126, when the office of the Chief Justice of India is vacant, or by reason of absence or otherwise, he is unable to perform the duties of his office. Then those duties has to be performed by any one of the other judges of the Supreme Court after he is appointed as acting Chief Justice by the President of India. This is how, in case of absence of the Chief Justice by any reason, the Supreme Court functions with the appointment of acting Chief Justice. There is a provision for appointment of ad hoc judges for Supreme Court also under 127. Then there is another provision about how to use the service of retired judges at sittings of the Supreme Court. Then we have other important articles which says under 129 that Supreme Court is the court of record. It has got power to punish for contempt itself, and it can sit at any places as per the decision of the or orders of the Supreme Court. Then it has got original jurisdiction, appellate jurisdiction in respect of criminal matters, civil matters, and it has got some important powers of giving special power, special leave to appeal. That is, even though there is no provision, if the court wants to give special leave, it can give special leave to any party to approach the court against by preferring an appeal against any judgment, decree, determination, sentence, or order in any case or matter passed or made by any court or tribunal. This is called under Article 136. Generally, people say that I preferred an appeal by way of special leave. For this, you have to take permission from the court. So, Supreme Court has got power under Article 136 to permit, to prefer an appeal against any judgment or order by way of special leave. Then it has got power subject to the rules made under Article 145 in order to review its own judgment or orders as provided under Article 137. The Supreme Court can have further jurisdiction and powers with respect to any matters which are there in union list as Parliament may by law confer. Not only even in respect of any state also, due to entering into a special agreement, by special agreement it can confer. That is to say, Supreme Court's power can be enhanced in respect of any matters in the union list and also other lists as per Article 138. So, Supreme Court can be entrusted with some power to issue some writs mentioned in Article 32, Clause 2. By giving special powers under 139, it has got powers to transfer the cases under 139A, and ancillary powers can be conferred apart from the powers which it has got by the Parliament under Article 140. Already in the previous classes, we discussed about Article 141 and 142. Article 141 says, the law declared by the Supreme Court shall be binding on all courts within the territory of India. Suppose if the Supreme Court gives an order that is binding on all the courts in India which are there within the territory of India. So this says that law of the land is what Supreme Court says as per Article 141. Then under Article 142, on certain occasions, in order to see that complete justice is done to the parties, the Supreme Court can make a power in respect of any aspects. See, the Supreme Court in the exercise of its jurisdiction can pass any decree, any order. That may not be according to law, but it may be according to justice. This power is given in order to see complete justice is done to parties. And such order is enforceable throughout the territory of India. And power of President to consult Supreme Court. This is under Article 143. On certain occasions, the Supreme Court can be asked to give its opinion by requesting to it by the President of India. What are those is in respect of the question of law or fact. If the President of India feels it is likely to arise, then if it is a public importance, it can, President of India can approach the Honorable Supreme Court to give its opinion.
Shall we join again, sir? Shall we join again? This meeting ID will end. We will join again, sir.
Okay.
Students, please join again.